The girls are demanding. And this boy was placid, he was happy, and I thought, oh yeah, this is great. After all the demanding, they're all very close together. Life was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. But he didn't talk to nearly 3. Now I still wasn't worried, because we both understood each other. But when he got to school, that's when the trouble started. They eventually came to us after 2 years and said, is he brain damaged? Now I was quite shocked, because I hadn't actually considered that he was brain damaged. We're talking about 1980s. He was born in 80. I thought, okay, this placidness is not all it should be. You know, what is going on? And if you've ever had children, communication between school and home is not always what it should be, I'm afraid. So we decided we'd take it into our own hands, do our own testing, because they were so slow, partly because he wasn't causing behaviour problems in class. You get your child causing behaviour problems, they jump. But if he doesn't, sits in the corner, is quiet, no. So it's back to parents.
Bob started at a public school in Bristol. When we realised he was dyslexic, try and get him into a small school, so we moved into a country school because we were on the edge of town in Bristol. Put him into this country school where he got more, sort of 14 in a class instead of 30, which helped, and we got him statemented. When he went up to the senior school, which was nearby, there the class sizes were big, and they just said to us, there's worse people than Bob, no statementing. So when we moved down here, we pulled him out of school and homeschooled him. We had tutors come in for 3 subjects. Now, they got him grounded in maths. His English wasn't too bad. Geography he did very well at. So we homeschooled him. Because they told us he wouldn't get any further, we were satisfied for him to get 5 GCSEs. Okay, there may have been a B in geography, but his others were quite low. But at least he got GCSEs. When they told us, when he first started high school, he won't get any. He won't get any GCSEs. He's not up to
his lack of confidence in many, many areas. He would always want to be with one of us as parents, which is all right up to a point, but after that you expect them to start standing on their own feet. And he was very, very reticent to do that. He'd always want his dad or myself around. Even the school told us when they introduced swimming, they have never seen a child look as though he's about to faint, which said to us it's anxiety. They actually got him over that, and he was very, very good at swimming in the end, which is great. But other things were reading, his numerical progress was inhibited by his lack of understanding. He didn't readily mix with other children. Eventually that, of course, tipped onto bullying, because kids don't understand. So really, peer support wasn't there. It's his frustration, really. He'd beat up his bedroom because he was so frustrated he could not understand what people were getting at. Just as to everyday living and tasks, if you like. He was not interested in reading. One book we got him onto regarding the Titanic, he actually read that right through because it gripped him, something really different. But that would be unusual, because it was such an effort.
But the way I struggled was because I just couldn't seem to comprehend easily, understand the basics of English and maths, and lacking in confidence. I didn't like to join in too much. I was a bit sort of alone, I suppose, because I just didn't have the confidence in joining in with those that I sort of were at school with. No, I didn't have any of these friends really. No, I didn't, because my lacking in self-esteem, so that I was not able to get out what I felt and what I wanted to, how to express myself. And I felt as if I was just like trapped inside, and I couldn't express myself clearly so that I could make myself understood as to what I did or didn't want. I did all sorts of silly things and mistakes and that, and said things wrongly, took offence in the wrong time, shouldn't have done.
We tried an intervention with the New Forest, Dr. Cork, who was good. It was on vitamins and elimination of perhaps substances that interfere with the brain, like gluten, aspartame, other such chemicals that interfere we tried that route, but it didn't make actually much impression lasting. Another one was where you cancel out primary reflexes that are left. We went down that route, and yes, some helped, but it wasn't the whole answer. We also tried the DGAT door strategy, which was very good. It was balancing both sides of the brain, but after we'd done that for a year, which is quite a long time in someone's life, you were expecting to see results, and they told us that we had plateaued on his eyes, so we said, okay, we're going to have to finish with this. As you can't get him any further with his eyes, we'll finish with it. That is what really alerted us when Alison Lawson therapy was centred around the eyes. A little flag lit up then, little light, and said, this is actually where we had to stop with the other programme. Both eyes have got to work together to send the same message back to the brain.
Because we'd always wondered about what can we do to help Bob. My wife wouldn't give it up. And we were in Australia visiting my daughter, but went down to see my sister in Hobart. And my wife, talking to my sister, who's a teacher, born and bred, said to her, mentioned about Bob and his problems, which were gradually getting to be, how do we get to live like this all our life, trying to cope with the frustrations and the stresses, and it made it hard at work, and you spend your time trying to understand him and relate to him and get him over a problem. And talking to my sister, she said, have you ever heard of Alison Lawson? A lady from Melbourne comes across here to the school in the holiday period, and we put several through, and it makes a big difference. So we got back from Australia, and my wife got on the phone. She's spent time speaking to people who've had the therapy to find out what did it do, did it help, and how did it help. And she knew it had been delivered into schools, and we thought it was just for juniors, only to discover that no, Bob wasn't too old to have the therapy benefit him. And there were some super stories of people who'd gone right the way through school just as hopeless, got no worse than him. I mean, at least he got 5 GCSEs of sorts. They weren't even getting anything. So when my wife found all this out, she said, okay, I'm going to try. I think we've got to put Bob through it.
I think life for him and us would be very difficult, because he'd have it hard to hold a job down, because he wouldn't succeed. He also would be a problem whether he'd even get up in the morning, because it's so impacted on him. He was just sleeping very heavily. It's hard to wake him up. There was just no motivation to start with. He's motivated, gets up, doesn't matter too much time what time he has to get up. He can face the day with confidence and do his work himself. Whereas now he's far more outgoing. He's very ready to go and do things by himself. His understanding is there. His reading is much, much better, and so is his understanding. His frustration is no different to anyone else, I'd say. He will get frustrated at times. And his confidence to tackle practical jobs and tasks and projects has really gone through the roof. It's very good.
I've got much more to look forward to and do that I can know that I can do. It's really the crux of it. I know that I can do things. I've got a lot more visibility. My eyesight is far more wider, and I can see both sides of the road clearly, and I can also make sure that I don't go one side. I used to go to the left, but now I can keep more central in the road, so that I can drive straight and not keep wandering to the left the whole time and wanting to catch things. That's made work life a lot easier. Before it's like school. It's understanding people and where they're coming from was really hard, and even understanding different personalities and understanding characters and where they ticked, that was just hard. But now I can relate to people. I can understand where they're coming from. I can link on with them better. I can talk and communicate clearly. Times when I have wireless treatment, I literally got myself in such a state afterwards that I had a migraine, and I was sick over it. I was so sort of stressed out from having to speak out publicly. But now I'm not the same. I found more confidence, self-confidence to be able to do such things. That's a lot easier nowadays. I used to struggle with reading. I do enjoy reading now. I didn't really know, because I struggled with it. I just didn't want to pick up a book and read it, because I thought, I can't read this, it's too hard for me to understand and I can't take it all in. These books on wartime stories, and not only do I listen to them, but I also can far more wanting to pick up the book in small print. There's small print text, but I can actually read through each sentence and comprehend, relate to what others went through. And that's something I couldn't do before.
It worked very well. He was able to go and have his treatment and then go back to work. He was extremely tired. I can't underestimate that he was. We had a lot going on at the time as well. But I still say it was absolutely worth it.
Yeah, more than 100%. Because I have to be honest, I didn't know what it would do. But what it did, it's sort of, really, it's quite mind-blowing, the change that came about. The first thing we noticed, or I noticed particularly, was in the work situation, the stress just plummeted. Whereas before, we had difficulty understanding each other and could spend half an hour trying to understand what each other was getting at. Now, within 5 minutes, we both understood each other, problem sorted, done. And I couldn't take in how much it would change him from being someone who struggled with things to someone who was relaxed and listening and wanting to do things and doing things differently. It just changed his whole attitude to life. It's revolutionised his life. I can't hardly take it in. I can't express it in words, the difference it's made.
Paul was on medication because he would get very depressed with his situation, not coping with work, not coping socially either. So as he was so low, the only way we felt to improve that at that point was to put him onto antidepressant medication. Now once this treatment started to work, he himself felt so much better. We looked at him as a whole person and what else was going on in his life. And we came to it, could we gradually ease him off the antidepressant medication? We went down the route of gradually weaning him off. And now life is, he's no longer half zonked both ends of the day. It used to be very difficult to get him up in the mornings, to get through to him, to even wake him. He seems semi-conscious, which is no longer. Yes, he does get tired. He does work a long day, but that's to be expected. So the impact of that, the quality of life on all of us is different, because no longer is the same stress of trying to get him up. Equally, when he would come in from work, he'd go for a sleep on his bed because he was so tired. Again, medication. So as we gradually weaned him off that, he said, I no longer feel dumbed. And there's no way I'd want to go down that route again of dumbing someone just because of depression and life just not having the quality it should have for someone to live to the full. So yes, we take it all back a few steps to when we started on the treatment. And then him feeling that he was succeeding in understanding, which was the first thing, and his stress levels coming down, there wasn't the same need at all. So yes, we are very grateful.
If I had that treatment back in the primary school days, I would have been absolutely going for it and I would have enjoyed it far more. If you want to understand and get ahead in life, this is the treatment.